start this picture first. This is one, I need to actually talk to the elders about changing the security code of the building. Because if you go down to my office right now, that's what it looks like. Post-it notes and, so we need to change the security key code so that we know who's coming to and from. But actually, thank you. And most importantly, I'm going to send this picture to my mom because it says happy 25th birthday, which is like, I know, made Allison really, really happy because, because it wasn't my 25th. But anyhow, I'm humbled. And then even somebody walked up, a couple of kids walked up and gave me a card that has not Starbucks in it, but Starbucks I can get, so even better. So thank you. So we're going to step into a series. I was just looking for something that would be kind of fun in the month of August because we're sort of, getting ready to, school starts in how many days? Today's the 2nd, right? 19 days. Yeah, the 19th is the first day, right? 18th. 20th for you, 19th for you. Sorry, yeah. So, bummer. But yeah, summer's coming to a close. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun just to walk through some ideas. Because I've actually heard, and you're going to see as we go through, this is going to be a couple week series, things that, like, God never said that. And so I thought this morning I had a little more latitude because, like, this crazy angel that's on the front of, I think his name is Gus, it's on the front of your worship program. It's like, that's just kind of odd, but you'll see that he's going to help us understand. I've got some videos to go along with each week as we talk about. So this morning is that idea is that the question or the statement is that God wants us to be happy. And we sing a song like Happy, and if you think about those lyrics, okay, so answer me this. What is a room without a roof? I mean, if you don't have a roof on your room, that means you're sort of like the weather elements, right? I mean, I don't know if there's anything that makes anybody happy about that, but the last couple of days it's been incredible to have a room without a roof. As we sat on the beach Friday and Saturday, it was like, yeah, this is beautiful. But this morning I want to unpack a few things. So just let me use this video to sort of set up the conversation, see if this makes sense. Couldn't have picked a better one myself. It's top of the line. All the options. The only thing it can't do is lie.
No, I'm just looking. This one is way out of my price range.
Oh, see, now there's your problem. Price range is really just a frame of mind. The facts are that you work hard. You deserve this. And God wants you to be happy.
Yeah, appreciate your enthusiasm, but God never said that. Hey, did you know that a new car salesman loses 30% of his value the second he leaves the lot? Yeah, too bad. Good cool.
Yeah. So we're going to see this angel's going to help us understand as we go through statements that people make all the time. And it's like, God wants you to be happy. But if you think about it, I mean, just what some of us have had to push through in the last, maybe even the last 3 days, the last month, even the last year, there's been all sorts of things. It's like, okay, there's not a lot of happiness in that. And so how do we have that? How do we find happiness? And so I want to set out some things I think in Scripture this morning. And Farrell helped us do that. I mean, all of us can sort of clap along, if you want. I mean, that's kind of a good feeling. But here's something I wanted to share with you this morning that's just kind of crazy. So this morning I got up and hopped on the internet. And how many of you know who the Foo Fighters are? Anybody heard of the Foo Fighters? Ryan's like, yeah. Well, in 1999, they had a song that went crazy. And so this morning, I want to share a video that was posted from a town in Italy who got 1,000 of their musicians together. And so as of this morning, this YouTube video has 15 million views. So I want you to think about that. So it's gone a little viral. And basically what's happened is these guys brought all their musicians together in the community because they want to invite these 5 band members in the Foo Fighters to come and play a concert in Italy. And they thought, how else do we do this but use technology? And so what's amazing is that it is coordinated, and maybe Percy can value this. I mean, the idea of pulling together people to be orchestrated all in the same. I have a field, but let me just play a little bit of this. But if you can hear the words, I want you to try to listen. I'll actually put the words over the video because I think our culture, and the reason why I thought I'd share this with you is our culture is looking for happiness. And so even the words of this song called Learn to Fly by Foo Fighters is really about where do we find our happiness. And if you think about just the messiness of what's going on in the tube, if you just turn on the TV, you don't have to watch any channel, CNN, Fox, any of it, but more than about 60 seconds, and you sort of know that we're in a mess. And part of it is because we don't know where true happiness comes from. But look at the joy these people have in something all about just bringing a band to Italy. I love this guy's hair, by the way. Let me just read some of those words. I don't know if you could follow all of them, but it just, and I think if you listen to any rock song, if you listen to any contemporary country song, I mean, they're saying basically, hook me up with a new revolution because this one we're in is going to die, is a lie. We sat around laughing and watched the last one die. Now I'm looking to the sky to save me, looking for a sign of life, looking for something to help me burn out bright. I'm looking for a complication, looking because I'm tired of lying. Make my way back home when I learn to fly high. And so I think part of it is that we've got this false understanding of what happiness is. And so I just thought it would be interesting just to push into it a little bit this morning, just to say, what does God want for us? And so the first verse I want you to look at, if you have your worship handout, I want to follow along here, is that, that may all who are godly be happy, the writer of Psalms says. And it's interesting that I want to lay out for you what is, I think, our contemporary culture's understanding of what I would call the theology of happiness. But I'm not sure that it's necessarily true. But it's what I think, and I think you'll find that this tends to be, if you think about the people that you spend time with, particularly those that are not church folk, just how they view the world. So we have this. We have this understanding that we think that somehow that whatever makes me happy must be right, and whatever makes me unhappy must be wrong. And again, this is a statement of our culture, and I'm not sure that that's true, because there are some things, if we think about it, that makes us unhappy, but is actually good about making us better. I mean, it's in those moments of pain, it's in those moments of grief, it's in those moments of disconnect with others that we tend to grow, because we figure out that maybe we're making bad decisions. And so how do we lean into that as God's people? And we just spent this whole series talking about, previous to this one, talking about this temple model that I think also confused us, because we somehow think that if something's happening, like we get a flat tire, it's like, okay, God, what did I do wrong? I mean, isn't that our first thought? It's like, well, no, there's anything you've done wrong, but it is something that has happened in terms of our culture, how we understand this. And even Sheryl Crow, who is a well-known musician, she has a song out that says, if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. If it makes you happy, then why the heck, actually he uses another word, are you so sad? In other words, your life ought to be filled with happiness. And I think particularly the scourge of heroin and these other drugs that are in our community is just creating this disconnect because people are trying to figure out how to be happy. And so the whole reason I'm talking about this is to help us be aware of what we need to offer others, because it's about who we come to know in the Creator, in Jesus. There's also this idea that somehow discomfort or delay or risk or suffering, inconveniences and obstacles can't be God's will for our life. Without going into the details, just ask the folks that have been on the property committee about why we don't have an occupancy permit for Mommy. It's just these things about details that we have to lean into, and it's nobody's fault. It's just called life, and it's called process and procedures. And yeah, I mean it's frustrating, but just because that's an inconvenience doesn't mean that's God's will. That somehow He wants us to be frustrated. Actually, maybe He wants us to pay attention in a different way. And then, how about this one? Without knowing it, I began to worship the false gods of comfort, money, pleasure, and things. And somehow that's where we tend to be in our understanding of happiness. That we get comfortable with where we're at. And as Americans, it's amazing. All of us in this room have more income in our pockets and more dollars in our pockets than the majority of the rest of the world. And yet, because it's going to crank up a little bit, the heat this afternoon, the heat index, I saw the weather guy say this morning, it's like it's going to be uncomfortable. It's like, well, okay, if we lived in the Sudan, I'm not so sure we would know what uncomfortable is, because they just tolerate it. But as Americans, if the air conditioning isn't on here in the building, so that it's down to about 69 degrees when we come in, and we go, oh, wait a minute, we're uncomfortable. And sometimes it's that we get caught up in that. Because we bought into this idea that somehow happiness is, that God exists to serve us, that we've almost reduced Him to a cosmic Coke machine. So, and somehow there's this mindset that if God wants me happy and I'm not, then obviously God has failed to live up to His portion of it. And as we talked about this in the last series, somehow there's something in church that isn't working, and so I need to figure that out. So, as we mentioned in this last series about how we have so many denominations because people get upset over some issue and they just go down the street and plant another building and start it all over again. And that's, I'm not sure what God really wanted. So what I want us to hear, though, is that your happiness isn't God's highest priority. Now, I want you to hear also that He delights in your happiness, but more like a parent delights in the child's happiness. And so we want our kids to be happy. And see, the one thing that I want us to see too is that God doesn't want you to pursue happiness. What He wants you to do is He wants you to pursue Him. He wants you to chase Him, and not pursuing Him for our happiness, but actually to pursue Him for our life giver, our sustainer. Even as we prayed this morning before the service, the common thread through all the prayers was just thanking God for this day that He's given us. It's another day that each of us get to lean into and be a part of, and be reminded of those maybe that have gone before us, those who we miss because they're not here to be with us. And yet in those moments, that becomes our legacy to each other, and how we can be happy in that. So what I want to say, just a couple things here, is that God doesn't want you to be happy in a couple of different ways. He doesn't want you to be happy when it causes you to do something that's wrong or unwise. I can remember as a kid, you know what the soapbox derby is? Remember the cars? My dad helped me build one, and after the soapbox derby was always on the 4th of July in Ashland, it's one of those things, it's like, this is a cool car to run down the hill. So where we live over near Brookside Park in Ashland, my friend Kevin and I, we were, and the soapbox derby is only meant to go in a straight line. And so the steering wheel only is meant to turn the wheel just 2 inches each way. So you really can't go far. I mean, you really can't turn a curve unless you're going downhill. And then this principle, I'm not sure what it is in physics, but as you pick up speed and you start going, you start out a little bit and then all of a sudden, so Kevin and I are going down Ellis Hill there at Brookside Park, and the next thing I know is we're like laying in a mess at the bottom of the street with the cart upside down on top of us. So even though it was a good thing to do, it wasn't a very wise thing to do because I ended up breaking my arm. And my friend Kevin, actually, his leg, it's kind of messy, but his leg got caught up underneath the axle and went across a cistern top, and you can only imagine it was like, okay, we both ended up going to the hospital, which is not what I should have done, but the point of sharing that is sometimes things we do are unwise. Even though God gave me this amazing soapbox derby to ride, I should have been more careful about it, because not only did I hurt myself, I actually hurt my friend Kevin. The scriptures tell us in this, but just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. And I guess maybe with my friend Kevin, I could have been a little more holy and not realizing that I was being stupid as I drove down the hill. Even in our culture, if you think about this, there is this messiness, and we hear it all the time. In fact, I just heard it this week about our marriages. And we're actually meeting with a couple this evening that I'm going to officiate their wedding here in a couple of weeks. But in the midst of that, it's just, we've all heard this, that since I'm not happy, then I'm allowed to do something that would otherwise be wrong. And I get it, and I'm not being judgmental, but it's just those moments, and even in a conversation that we had early this morning with a friend, that they are no longer dating and they had been in a serious relationship. And it's just like, okay, life is complicated. It's one of those things where I'm trying to unpack things that we somehow think aren't that bad. Eating cake, how bad can eating cake be? Well, if it's, even this week, did you see the video or the story on the news about what one glass of Coke does to you in 60 minutes? I mean, it's kind of scary. It's like, all right. Thank you. That's, yeah. How do I follow that? How about this? The second point being that when God doesn't want you happy, when it's only based on things of this world. Anybody got a Snuggie? I mean, you all have to buy Snuggies according to the television. Do you really have it? Because that's what makes you better, right? Because it keeps you warm at night. Because it has the holes in it, right? Or the Miracle Lotion, or this thing called Shake Weight. You ever seen a Shake Weight? I won't go into the details, but it's this late night, you can sort of see it's this thing you're supposed to buy that's supposed to help remove the pounds. Or that new iPhone, or the new pair of kicks. And we somehow live in this understanding of this sort of formula, if you will, that if we have better positions and we add to that our peaceful circumstances, and we add to that the thrilling experiences that we get, the right relationships, and the perfect appearance is all going to end up in our happiness. And that's not true. We've all done things like, have you ever tried light mayonnaise? This is just like, those two words shouldn't be together, because it's just wrong, but because it's something of the world, and I don't know if this makes sense, but let's look at this scripture. It's there in your handout. Here's what God wants for us. This is out of 1 John chapter 2. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. And so what I want us to sort of understand this morning is this simple idea of what God wants you to be. It isn't so much happy, but is really, He wants you to be blessed. And it's interesting that the word, the Greek word, another seminary term here is makarios, M-A-K-A-R-I-O-S, makarios, which basically just means to be more than happy. That's really what God wants for us, is not just to be happy, He wants us to be blessed. He wants us to be more than happy. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't get sick. It doesn't mean that we don't lose a job. It doesn't mean that we get a zip before prom for our students. It's like, it's always on the nose for me, that moment where it's like, really? And that things always go our way. God says yes. We know that He doesn't say yes to every prayer. The idea that we were watching this new show that's on... I think it was on Fox last night. It's a crazy show where they've got this truckload of people. They've got 9 couples, and they're going around doing these renovations of homes. And what they don't know is that at the end, somebody gets kicked off the team, but after they've done this incredible 5-day renovation of this home, the person who gets kicked off the team actually gets the home they just got done fixing up. So it's extraordinary. And it's like I kept wondering, how do you keep that secret for 8 weeks? But because we're just, somebody's posting on Instagram. But it was an amazing story to see these families this young couple who got the first home last night, they were in New York City, couldn't afford to live there. They both were teachers. They actually left teaching to move to Atlanta to try out for this TV show, which is like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? In the midst of, they think they get kicked off of this team because they're not performing very well. And then as the busload of the other 8 couples goes down the highway, the guy who sticks around, Mike, basically says, okay, you want to meet the couple you just did this house for? And it's like, yeah, we do. It at least brings some joy to our loss. And he brings out a picture of them and puts it on the wall. He says, this is your home. And it's an incredible story that encourages us. And so it's that blessing that out of their messiness, they're risking. And the same for us, that it's in the pain, it's in the storm, it's in the trials that we face, that's where God shows up. It's in our weakness that he allows others to come alongside. And I showed this to the students this morning, and it's the verse that I want us to understand for ourselves, is that if we delight ourselves in the Lord, then he will give you the desires of your heart. And part of it is the tension between desiring him and desiring what he wants for us. For example, let me ask you this question just to wrap up. Picture, this is actually a story from Max Lucado, but picture a fish on the beach. A live fish that's now on the beach. Is that fish happy? Probably not. Why? He's out of water. He's out of where he's supposed to be. He's out of where God created him to be. So if I walk up and give him a pile of cash, it's probably not going to help his life any, right? If I give him a beach chair and some sunglasses, it's probably not going to be very good for him. If I give him, a margarita and a copy of Playfish, and say, hey, check out, I don't think it's going to encourage him in any real direction. And so he'll never be happy on the beach because it wasn't designed for his life. For that's not where he's supposed to live his life. Max Lucado says this, you weren't made for earth. Moments of happiness and joy cannot compare to what's ahead. Lower your expectations of earth, not heaven. No new car, no new wife, no new baby, no new boat will give you the joy your heart craves. And I want to give you really the full of this verse that we looked at the beginning, is that may all who are godly be happy, but I didn't give you the full thing. It's really because we need to be happy in him, and that we offer praise to his holy name. And so as we move through the summer, these next few weeks before you go to school, it's just, I wish you could see the faces. It's like the Cheshire Cat. Find something greater, that we need to find something to delight in him, that he desires the most for us. And there is a lot that we're going to unpack in these next couple of weeks, talking about things that God didn't really say that. He didn't say for you to be happy. What he wanted you to be is to be blessed. And so again, one of the reasons why in my leaving almost every conversation with somebody is there's always blessings to you, because I want God's best for you. And even for friends that don't know Christ, I want God's best for them, because hopefully through our experience together of what we may offer. So let me pray for us, and we'll move on. Yeah. Amen. The best. Yeah, thank you very much. What else do we have? Can I pray? Can I pray? Jesus, we thank you for today. I thank you for this family, this church family, the place that you've called one tonight to, and thank you for the joy that they are to us. And thank you that in all that we can be happy. Now that happiness we know sometimes may stretch us, and so the idea of Pharrell Williams or Foo Fighters, it's just like in the midst of a worship service, but to understand there's something deeper that you're calling each of us to. And so we thank you that you love us, and we thank you that you continue to provide for us, and that in that you continue to stretch us. And so we just ask, as we continue through this morning in worship, that you would just help us sense your presence even as we leave here today, through all that we would offer you and each other. In Christ's name, and all God's people said, Amen.